right? So every moment is truly a gift, and it's just when we expect to receive those gifts in the moment, we will.
And speaking of in the moment.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday!
Thank you, Dr. Energy. Thank you, Facebook family, Facebook Live family. So good to be here.
Exactly. It is. So
let's get right into it today. Let's get right into multitasking.
Yeah, I hope Cindy's here. She said she really wanted to learn a lot more about this, so I'm hoping she's here.
Let's talk about it, and we'll introduce ourselves in 5 minutes. Let's just get right into the multitasking aspect.
Well, our names are there. People know who we are. Let's just jump in.
Okay, multitasking. Imagine wanting to answer the phone, answer your messages. It's your birthday. You want to say hello, acknowledge people, but you're doing a Facebook Live. What do? What are the choices that you make? So let me give you a perspective on that. If I'm on camera live and I'm present, I'm here. This is where I am. If someone sends me a message, I'll have to get to it later. Just have to make a choice. Here's what would happen if I were multitasking. I could be looking at you, or I could be, half ready to check my message, see what's happening. Oh, look at that. Someone I haven't spoken to is wishing me happy birthday. And where is my energy? Where is my focus? So in multitasking, and Dr. Energy is going to talk about what he did the other day and, how it happens. And it's a great example. Actually, you don't know if that was on purpose or by accident, but it was definitely a great example. When we are tasking, when we are think about when you're speaking to a child, when you're closing a deal, when you're with your loved ones, when you're with your husband, your daughter, your lover, your partner, when you haven't seen someone and then you do see them. Do you pick up your phone, man? I hope not. You give it your energy. So today I want to give you my energy back and say thank you to everyone for all of the amazing wishes that you're giving me, the messages, the videos, the texts, the phone calls, you name it. I am getting every possible platform that I could imagine. And I think it's all because of everyone's digital gaming. They've been upping their game in the digital world, and I love it. And that's a plus. So thank you so much to everyone. Single task. Don't multitask. Something's going to dilute.
Right. It's, when you start to multitask, you half-ass everything rather than whole-assing one thing. And it makes a big difference. Now, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about when you said about the other day, what I was doing the other day. So maybe you can point me in the right direction, because I do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I say a lot of stuff and I don't remember sometimes.
So we put out a message and Cindy Mount had pointed it out. She had a question. So we you want to talk about it?
So this live stream that we're doing today on multitasking was actually supposed to be last week. And because I was multitasking and trying to do so many different things at once, I wasn't paying attention to what we had created in our email to our audience versus what I was posting on Facebook, I got my wires crossed. And so we ended up last week covering a different topic and on how to have confidence on camera. And we were supposed to cover multitasking, which is what we sent out via email to our audience. So Cindy actually called us on it and said, "Hey, I thought you were doing multitasking this week." And she was right. And so when we sent out our email this week, we said, oops, Dr. Joe got his wires crossed because he was multitasking. I was trying to do too many things at once and my attention was scattered and I couldn't pay close enough attention to the tasks that I had in front of me in order to make sure everything lined up.
And what I loved about that was when Cindy asked me, I thought, oh, wait, we're going to cover both of those things. Because I thought, oh, we're going to talk about confidence and multitasking. And I hesitated. And then I looked through our messages and I thought, well, we can do that. We can cover 2 topics. Like, of course, why not? We can cover 5 topics. And that was a great example. I think the universe brought that to show there's nothing wrong with not doing what you say you're going to do when you can do it anyway. There's nothing wrong with that. But the example of tasking and multitasking is, how does someone feel? So we love that Cindy's paying attention, and to our other members and friends and colleagues. and that we pay attention to each other, and we do that. We catch each other in doing things. And it's really nice to have a partner to bounce off of, catch, look at, review, ghostwrite. If you're writing something and you're not having it proofread, I would say rethink that. I invite you to pay someone, engage, enlist someone to do that with you. Because when you are multitasking, you are diluting your energy.
Yeah.
You probably want us to follow a little script today, right, Dr. Energy?
Well, we could get to that. Let's before we get into some more details of multitasking, I just want to welcome everybody here. Carolyn Jackson, welcome. Cindy, great to see you here. I know that you were looking forward to this topic on multitasking. Rob, and one of our fellow guild members, is here as well. Great to have you here, Rob. And one of the things that I just wanted to get out of the way, some of you might have seen on our Facebook page that I'm part of a 7-day challenge this week. And if you haven't done this before, I highly recommend going through the process. This 7-day process is about what is the content we're producing, why we want to produce it, what platforms are we going to produce it on, what is the format of the content on those platforms. Is it going to be live streams? Is it going to be recorded video, recorded audio, podcasts, whatever, or all of the above? And it's really helped me refocus my energy on what is it exactly we're doing here with BU Network. And so the Creator Toolkit is a great place where you can go if you want to start creating content, whether you're ready to get out there on live video or not, that's okay. It'll really help you crystallize some ideas. So you can check it out at creatortoolkit.com. It's completely free. The Impartial Geek, David Foster, is going to lead us through and give you some questions, some promptings on where you want to go with it. So I've been going through that. Day 4 is today, and I'll be posting that later today. So check that out as well.
I want to say something to you about that. First of all, kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know that's something you chose to do, and I love that you are doing it about BU. I really love that you're tagging me, so I'm putting that on my personal Facebook page. And the Creator Toolkit, I was going to say Toolkit Creator Toolkit, David Foster, he's commented on our lives before. And if if you're new to what we're doing today, you can actually go back, you can take a look, and you can see that this gentleman, he pays attention to us.
Yes.
And we really enjoy that. And we enjoy when you can cross-market, cross-reference with someone else.
Support each other.
Right. It's called Other People's Audiences. And I know we're going to talk about multitasking. If you would like to have this conversation with us about other people's audiences, we'll do it. We'll have that with you. And it's not about stealing. It's about performing, producing, being of service to another audience. So when you're here today on this live and you're writing comments and you're asking us questions, you are serving us and our audience. And I want to thank you for that, for being right here, right now in the room with us. That is gold. That is exactly the currency that people want. So when you go onto someone else's page, when you go onto their live, if they say to you, post a link, then go ahead and do that. And if someone talks about you the way we're speaking about Creator Toolkit, that's very valuable. That's a valuable piece of marketing and testimonial. So I love that you're doing that, Dr. Energy. I think that is awesome. And David Foster, thank you for paying attention to us, because I want your mic. I want your headset.
Yes, we've that Lewitt 240 in white. That is definitely on the shopping list.
That headset.
And the white V-Moda headphones as well.
Oh, this is just on my lip, but I know I need to go and get the Go GL.
XLR.
XLR, because I call it something else. I have to go do all that. So that investment's going to put me up like another maybe 2,000, maybe. I don't know, something like 2,000, maybe 1,800.
It never ends.
Nope.
But
that's my next. That's my next gear upgrade. So it'll be those 3 pieces of equipment, and then You'll see me with white accessories because I have a white computer. So I want to do a white setup.
Yeah.
All right.
And stay tuned because we do have some recommendations on microphones coming up in the near future as well. We've been doing some research on what's out there and what's good, bang for the buck, all of that kind of stuff. So,
right. So we're using USB mics right now. We're going to talk about condenser mics. That's a mic that I'm going to get next, and how to use them and the best way to get the best bang for your buck, and know the equipment. So just like going into the kitchen, ladies and gentlemen, know your equipment.
Right tool.
Just like going into the car, going into your Mercedes or your BMW. Carolyn Jackson, a Mercedes plug for Rocco. Rocco is okay. We'll let her put some posts in there.
Now,
okay,
see,
we'll let her do
multitasking.
that.
We're getting off topic.
Multitasking. So when you know your tools, you really know how to get the best result. So let's go into. Do we want to say anything about who we are before we go? What do you want to do?
Let's just jump right into the multitasking. We've introduced ourselves. People can poke around our page. They know who we are. Our names are on the screen. We're about having conversations worth having. Let's get to multitasking.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about to start with, 4 reasons why multitasking is not the best option. All right. It makes you less productive. It's plain and simple. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to let you add on to that, Dr. Energy.
Leave the meat on the bone for me.
Yep.
So oftentimes we think that when we're multitasking, we're actually being more productive because we're doing more things. And the research has actually shown that this is not the case. Have you ever tried to do this, tap your head, and rub your stomach at the same time? It's hard to do. It takes conscious thought. Until we learn it well enough to do it, it can be challenging. It takes a lot of brain energy and it diverts us from other tasks. Now, when we continually switch from task to task to task, it actually makes us less productive because our brain is trying to decide how much energy to devote to a task. So what I have found through different coaching programs that I've been a member of is I've created something called power sessions. And I create 3 to 5 of them per day, depending on what work needs to get done. And I even schedule my creativity time. And it sounds counterintuitive to say, I'm going to be creative from this time to this time. And in actual fact, what it ends up doing is focuses your energy for that amount of time, and you actually end up getting more done in less time than if you try to do 3 things at the same time. So for instance, when I've sat down to write a blog post, I say, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to write a blog post or come up with an idea or flesh out an idea for a video. And then I set a timer, and at the end of the 30 minutes, I stop no matter what. And then I move to another task, or I take a break, whatever it might be. And at the beginning, it was a little challenging. But what I find now is that I can actually get it done in half that time, in 15 minutes, because my energy is so focused. I finish it, and then I'm like, it must be 30 minutes. And I look down, and I've still got 15 minutes left. So you end up focusing the energy more, and the brain says, okay, I'm going to devote all my energy, all my attention to this task, being here, right now. There's nothing, no other place, no other no other task that needs to be done except this right now. And then I'll move on to something else after that time is up. So if I hit 15 minutes and I finished a blog post, I start another one, and I end up getting more done in less amount of time than I would otherwise.
Thank you. That's a good point. I'd like to add something. Have you ever learned another language? Have you ever studied another language? So you remember Rosetta Stone. So let's say you were going to a language class, whether it's online or you wouldn't be doing it in person. So you put your headset on and you're going to learn Spanish. So you're there, you're in the classroom and you're learning a new language. And a message comes up, or you remember something you're supposed to do. I'm not too sure what's going to happen to your comprehension of what you're doing. If you focus like you're learning a language, if you focus like it really matters, if you focus as if I miss something, I'm not going to be able to. I was speaking to a student the other day who said, I have to pay attention online because I will miss what the teacher says. If I miss what the teacher says, I will not know what I have to do. So therefore, I need to focus. Now think about that. If you're doing something and you're focusing, then you won't miss the point, the actual point of what you're doing. I wanted to add that more meat to the bone. Multitasking makes you less productive. I'd like to go on to the second point, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jump in.
Multitasking hinders your memory. Really? All right. Has anyone ever called you and asked you, like, could you please do this? And you're like, sure, of course. I'm just going to, I was in the middle of something. I took the call. So I'm going to go back to what I was doing. All right. What happens? And then you forget what that person asked you to do. So I'm going to give you some context to that. The reason for that is our compulsion to multitask is actually sabotaging our memory. So think about that, sabotaging our memory. Research from the University of California, San Francisco found that multitasking negatively affects our short-term memory, doesn't matter your age, which is also referred to as our working memory. So your working memory, our working memory, is what enables us to remember an important deadline someone just told you, or the fact that you need to call or schedule a blog post, a dental cleaning, cleaning your house, taking your car to get the tires changed. It's that time of year. So if you find yourself forgetting your lunch in the fridge, after you told yourself 8 times, grab it on the way out, and not being able to remember a friend's phone number, who remembers phone numbers, when she just told it to you, you might be able to blame your multitasking habit for those lapses in your memory. When we try to do more than one thing at one time, because we can, right? We're able to do that. We have these programs that are not working with us to do that. I use a technique called mapping. I use sticky notes. I use Jamboard. I use a lot of different tools. I like visual tools. I like auditory digital. I like them all. When I am doing something, I am focusing on it. And just like Dr. Energy was talking about, I make it the thing. It's the thing. It's like Ed Norton. Do you remember that? And Jackie Gleason, before he'd play the piano, what he would do, the gesture he made with his arms. He made a big deal about it because he was going to play the piano. Well, I make a big deal about everything that I'm doing. And I make a big deal about it so that my subconscious and my conscious mind are ready to do it. I prep it. It's like an orchestra. The music, the 10-minute countdown before you get on with us. That 10-minute countdown is there for a number of reasons. Maybe Dr. Energy will get into some of them, but that's a really good thing to do with yourself. Get ready, get into it, and dive into it. Pick up your sleeves and remember what you're doing so you don't have to remember what you're supposed to do.
Wait a sec. What were we doing? What were we talking about again?
What, were you speaking or was I speaking?
I just want to say hi to Jay and hi to Akua. They both popped in to chat
awesome,
as well.
awesome.
So,
Thank you.
Happy that you're here. Great to see you both this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, or tonight, wherever you're and whenever you are.
Yes, thank you for being here.
So, yeah, the memory thing. I've done this numerous times. I live close to the office when I go to see patients. So occasionally I have, in the mornings, I get my coffee ready in my travel mug and I put it on the table. And so I know to grab it before I go at the door. And then I forgot this. I forgot to grab this. I forgot to grab that. And then boom, I know now I'm late and I have to hustle out the door. And then oh crap, I forgot my cup of coffee. and I'm already halfway walking, and I walk to work. It's a 15, 20-minute walk. And I'm like, okay, I'm not turning around to go back and get my coffee. And it's there. It's still there. It's sitting on the kitchen table right where I left it when I get home at the end of the day. So this happens when we try to do too many things at once. We can't remember enough things. We talk about our attention is, 7 plus or minus 2 items given that we can attend to at any one time. This is why when we try to remember phone numbers, it's easier to remember the 7 digits rather than putting the area code in front as well. So if we remember where the person lives, we can just, if it's a 647, for example, Toronto, or 416 Toronto, or 249 in the greater GTA, or 613 here in Ottawa, it's easier just to remember 7 numbers than, they're this area code, and you just pop it in front. So when we try to do too many things, it doesn't transfer from short-term memory into long-term memory, and then we start to forget things. And it can be annoying at first, and then it can get really distracting as we go.
What'd you say? Oh,
and yes, I am multitasking as we're doing these streams, because we need to produce the back end of the stream, and make sure we answer your questions and those types of things, as well as checking our notes. So,
and that's a good point, because when you do have to produce something and you know what the steps are, you have a workflow. So create a workflow. When I do this, you do that. Have a structure, so that if you just wing it and you think, well, I'm just going to wing it, really, it's not. Yeah, it's not going to work out the same way. So have a structure, so that if you are producing and edit, what we're doing is editing, producing, we're content creating all at the same time. We've rehearsed, we've planned, we've done everything we need to do. And then we go live and we live with technology and we live in the here and now. And we want to give you our very best. So that is a form of multitasking. At the same time, we have delineated or identified how we're going to handle things as they come up. And then we're going to let them come up the way they must. And let's talk about what multitasking leads to. So not in the case where we're already assigning this structure to ourselves, but in the case where we're just deciding, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to work with the schedule, or I don't like to have an agenda. Multitasking leads to poor work. It's another danger of not being able to commit all of your focus to something. We're walking our dog, we're on our phone. Okay, well, what do we have to do? Watch our dog? I don't know. Think about the energy. Think about the danger of not being able to commit all of your focus to something. What could have happened had you focused on that? You're increasing the likelihood of errors. You are definitely increasing the margin of having things go wrong. We can't say that by multitasking you're minimizing it. We're not. Dr. Paul Hammerness and Margaret Moore, authors of Organize Your Mind. Wouldn't that be great? Just think about it. Organize your mind. Organize your life. Discovered that multitasking increases your chances of making a mistake or even missing an important information piece or content entirely.
Kind of like the example we gave at the beginning of this was what our topic was supposed to be last week, right?
Right. It makes sense. It's far more likely to let a typo slip in an important email if I'm writing that message while also watching TV or talking with a friend, while your urge to rapidly switch between tasks might make you feel like a productivity hero. I can do it. It's probably actually leading to lower quality work than what you're capable of producing. If you have a protocol for something, if you have a structure and it works, I invite you to keep that structure, embrace it. And then if you have a piece that needs your attention, put your energy into the piece that needs your attention. So if you know what your workday is like, let's say you're producing content for something, gather your information, do your homework, get your structure, set it up. I was going to say, copy it, set it up, put it where it has to go. Set your timer, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, give it all you got, and then move on to the next thing. And if you're doing it haphazardly at different times of the day, it is not going to be sustainable, ladies and gentlemen. It will be a flash in the pan process. If you want something to be everlasting, look at your schedule, look at how it works. Doesn't mean that you can't ebb and flow with that, but make a commitment, make a choice, pick a time, give yourself an alarm, just like you're learning a new language, and then start it and finish it and move on to the next thing.
So important. This is what we talked, the example that I gave at the beginning of this live stream about last week, that how I was doing so many things and trying to get so much stuff done, because editing podcast, editing video, posting to Facebook, uploading our podcast episode to our podcast platform and getting it over to our website from there. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And sometimes if we're trying to do it all while we're also trying to answer the phone or answer email or message on an app somewhere in a community that you're part of, stuff gets missed, you cannot pay attention to the details quite as much. So on that note, before we jump to number 4, I'd like to talk a little bit about our podcast.
Let's do that.
Our most recent podcast just dropped this morning. It drops every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. And we had as a guest, our show this week is with Tanya Thomas, episode number 68. Can you believe 2 more weeks and we're at 70 episodes? That's just blows me away.
It does.
Yeah. So Tanya Thomas, Delegate and Scale Your Business. You can find that over on our website over here at b-u.network/podcasts. All our episodes are there. They're on any of the podcasting platforms where you consume podcast content. Just search for BU Network Podcast and you'll find us there.
I wanted to say something about speaking with Tanya. She's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to hear a powerful voice, you're going to hear it when you hear how she speaks. There's something in her voice that exudes confidence.
Yeah, don't let that southern drawl fool you.
Right. Don't think that it has to do with how much you say in the shortest period of time so you can get everything that's on your mind out and everybody can hear it. Like this, please lose that concept in any scenario. When we're speaking to you here, we take a breath, we're intentional, we're delivering our message, we're capturing your attention and giving you a chance to digest the information.
Right.
That is done very well in this episode. I really enjoyed it. I loved going over and listening to it over and over again, which is what we do in the editing process.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. We have the conversation and then we have it like 3 hours more at least by the time we're done with that. So we know what goes on inside and out. That was amazing. I love that. So I like how we do this as well. The podcast message gets in everyone's inbox at 10:30.
Yep.
And then we come live at 10:50, 11 o'clock. So you can go check your inbox. Let's talk about whitelisting those messages just in case someone's...
Yeah, so just quickly, make sure you add whatever email you subscribe up with. Make sure you check especially if you're using a Gmail email address, check your spam folder, check your promotions folder, because sometimes emails get directed there by Gmail. So if you make sure to whitelist our email address, it will go to your inbox instead, and you won't miss any of the information. So,
right. It's a tip. It's a point. You may say, well, it's in my promotions and I don't go there. So anyway, or it goes in spam. Yeah. Let's keep an eye on that.
Okay. Let's cover number 4. And then we'll get Cindy made an interesting comment in the chat as well about an app. And then we'll address that. So why don't you start with number 4?
Multitasking makes you feel frazzled. Can you relate to that? I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think about it. Feeling frazzled. Okay, let's get out of that frazzle. How does constantly hopping back and forth between different emails and assignments make you feel? Frazzled, confused, totally stressed. My eyes feel bleary. My heart rate quickens. I end the day feeling like I got nothing of real value accomplished. Like, I don't like that, so I'm not going there. Compare that to spending a couple of dedicated, focused hours, like Dr. Energy was just saying, when he's doing his blogging, to making progress on a big project. How do you feel at the end of that work session? You probably feel a lot different. Just so happens that Dr. David Meyer, professor of psychology at the University of Michigan, not my David Meyer, but another David Meyer, has been, and that's Meyer, not Myers. That's because multitasking has been proven to boost your stress levels. Okay, so if you want to boost your stress levels, multitask. That's going to do it for you every time. When you're trying to accomplish a bunch of tasks, particularly high important ones, high list of priority, they're right here instead of like that. They're all important. Simultaneously, your brain responds to those seemingly impossible demands by pumping out a bunch of adrenaline and other stress hormones. Even worse.
Yes.
Your brain responds to seemingly...
I'm reminding you Meditate.
One more time. Coming up. Wait for it.
I'm reminding you, meditate.
And this part of our show is brought to you by Alexa. Your brain responds to seemingly impossible demands by pumping out adrenaline and other stress hormones.
Yep.
I'll let you make some comments here before I go into it any further, because
Right.
I don't want to steal your thunder.
Well, it's sort of right in my wheelhouse, this particular point. When we pump out adrenaline and cortisol, which is one of the other stress hormones, our insulin level goes up, which bathes our cells, and we start to activate. Because when insulin goes up, we start to pull more and more fuel out of our energy deposits, so fat and lean tissue, and liver, the glycogen, and we create sugar from it so that we can fuel the nerve cells. And so our blood sugar goes up. And so this creates more oxidative stress within our system. So over time, if we're chronically stressed, even if we think we're not, and we're trying to deal with all of these priorities that, as Rara said, they're all on this level rather than prioritized. If everything's a priority, then nothing is, and it's going to leave us feeling stressed. And that chronic stress, that chronic fight, flight, or freeze response it actually ages us faster, because all that oxidative stress makes our cells break down faster and faster. Now, the other aspect that we don't often address that stress does to us is it actually shuts down the frontal cortex, the newest evolutionary part of our brain, which is right here behind our forehead. And the reason that this is important is when this part of our brain is really responsible for coordinating and elevating the parasympathetic response. That's the part of our nervous system that does the healing, the relaxation, the repair and growth of our tissues. And so when there's a disconnect between fight or flight, freeze, and the good housekeeping aspect of the nervous system, we get stuck in that fight or flight response, fight, flight, freeze response. And this part of our brain shuts down. It also shuts down our ability to reason. And what ends up happening is we live from the older parts of our brain, which are all about survival. This is why when we're stressed, we feel angry, we feel on edge. Have you ever felt hungry and you get hangry? That's part of the reason is your body's going into distress, and the distress is about survival. So we feel hangry, we feel upset, we feel like everything's a competition, everyone's out to get us, or we have to be compete or die. We live from those emotions rather than when we're living in a more healing response. It's more of cooperation, compassion, empathy, love, and caring for each other as well as ourselves.
Thank you for that. I'll add this. That being said, stopping this natural tendency can be tough, particularly when you're saddled with a big, long list. We have big, long lists.
Yeah, we have long lists too.
Right, as long as our arms. The next time you feel the urge to multitask, which I assume will be within the next 5 minutes, challenge yourself to stay focused on the task in front of you. You can also experiment with different management techniques. You can task batch. Whatever you do, it's sure to be a lot more beneficial than constantly switching gears. Think about driving that Mercedes, Carolyn. When you're switching gears in the car, how beneficial is that? I would love to know what you do. How do you resist the urge to multitask? Drop us a comment right here. Let us know. What do you do to resist the urge to multitask? Let's get to Cindy's question.
Right. So in the chat, Cindy mentioned that she uses an app called Focus To Do, and she dropped a link there for you as well to help you focus while you're working, so you don't multitask as often. It can set a timer. It's more of a digital aspect of things. Personally, I like to do it with pen and paper, and I write out what my power sessions are for the day, the time that this to start and finish, and also what the actual task is. I actually have a sheet that I created, and it has 3 power sessions per day, so I can see the whole week, 7 days there. And sometimes one of the power sessions is meditation. It's one of the ways that I use to recenter and refocus. It doesn't have to be the focus power session doesn't have to be about doing quote unquote productive work. it can be about some self-care, about some time to recenter and refocus yourself. There's lots of techniques out there. There's the Pomodoro technique that you can use to group your tasks and how to get them done. And there's timers. There's a whole bunch of different ones. There's lots of apps out there that you can use for a work process or a workflow, like Asana and Trello, and that's like having sticky notes up on your wall and moving them around. Okay, this task is happening, then this task, then this task. You can see it digitally. Like I said, I tend to be more of an analog, because we know from research as well that when you actually write something out physically on paper with a pen, it activates different parts of the brain and it assigns a different level of importance and memory to it than if you just do it digitally.
I'd like to add to that. So in my company, The Bridge, I have a time management timeline phase. And one of the things that I really enjoy doing, and I do this personally as well, Brendan Bouchard has a high performance planner. It's intense. It's awesome. You write it out. You definitely take your pen and you take these books, and they're 2 months per book. You can do it for the year. I would be happy to discuss that with you. I've been using this for years. And this is a very beneficial way to, take the pen, take the thought, take the pen, put it to paper, and anchor it. So if you're looking for another way to do something, or what you're doing works great, send us a message. Let us know what you use. And if you're looking for something new, something different, let us know.
Absolutely. We love to hear what you're doing. I see that Carolyn also commented that multitasking definitely gets her frazzled, and that the meditation helps her to refocus and change the energy. Yeah, absolutely it does. And I see Akua, she also mentioned that the frazzled feeling, and that happens. I went through this experience last night at the end of the day with seeing patients and trying to get, and then on my lunchtime from the office, I did a little bit of meditation, and then I was doing some work on the podcast. And by the end, and then last night after I got home, I took some time to relax. And then I was looking at some videos about, how to help us grow our channel here and how to do different things, doing more research for our stream today. And when I woke up this morning, I didn't feel rested. My eyes felt bleary last night when I went to bed. So it definitely builds up, and everybody falls victim to it, if you will. And it's how do we catch ourselves before it happens?
Well, one way is to hire a coach.
Yep.
And coach your way through it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just because you've done it before and you're out of alignment, think about the Olympic stars, think about the athletes, hire someone to keep you accountable. And that might be a period of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it could be 12 months. And go through the motion and actually execute reframing that habit that you might have picked up and you just can't shake it. Because if you invest your time to reframe it, you will save yourself a lot of time and money in the long run.
Right.
Any other comments, Dr. Energy?
Yeah, I'm just, you see me glancing away because I'm multitasking. Yeah. I'm actually looking for, there was a Steve Dotto, who some of you may know. He actually recently did a couple of webinars on time management. And they were very, very powerful. He went over some of the different apps that you can first use, because to start doing this, you actually need to track where you spend your time first, and then go about organizing the day and how you want to organize your tasks. And he went through a whole bunch of different apps for that. And his YouTube channel has them there. And if you check him out on youtube.com/Dottotech, you can...
Want to drop the link in there for everybody?
I will drop the link in there if you want to go ahead and
comment. Sure. Let me comment about that. I have an iPhone, and iOS lets you know where you're spending your time. You can check it out. It might be scary to find out you're spending 6 hours a day on Facebook, and 2 hours a day in your bank app, and 3 hours a day in your email, or more. So I have this in my phone, and I do track where I spend my time. And I love when I see where I'm at. So I was in a really amazing podcast the other day. Steve Anderson invited me to that group. And one of these amazing guys, like his business is social media. And he was saying that he spends 4 or 5 hours a day on social media. That's what he does. He doesn't think anything of it because he's pushing out information. And one of the really interesting tips that I learned from him, he doesn't just like something that somebody does because they liked something from him, because that's automatic. So he's a strategist with social media. For example, and I don't want to give it all away because I think I'd rather you go listen to the podcast. For example, yes. For example, engage with people prior to asking them to do something.
Right.
Go engage with them. Not, hi, how are you doing? You want to come listen to my podcast today? Come listen to my live. Engage with them. Really engage with them. And then a day, a week, a minute, whatever later, you figure out your strategy. Then go and do the ask. So he was saying that his 4 or 5 hours, he's actually not showing some of the activity that he's doing so that his strategy is more direct to someone.
Mm-hmm.
He may give them a direct message as opposed to a public message. He's not looking for the bells and whistles. He's looking to develop the deep, deep connection. That podcast was great. I was the only woman in an all men's group. Thank you. Shout out to Steve Anderson. I'll be there next month. Thank you. So did you find that link, Dr.
Yeah, I already popped it. I popped it in the link there
awesome.
for Steve's YouTube channel. You have to just go on there, and on his page, you can search for time management or for productivity apps. Now you'll find it there.
Great. I'd like to review the 4 points that we talked about in case you're taking notes. So point number 1 about multitasking. Multitasking makes us less productive. Point number 2. Multitasking hinders our memory. What'd you say? Huh? Number 3, multitasking leads to poor work. That hurts. Number 4, multitasking makes you feel frazzled, and nobody likes to feel frazzled.
Right.
So we would like to know, how do you resist the urge to multitask? Let us know. Those are the 4 points. Yes, talk to us. Let us know what's going on. Actually, let's talk about talking to us. Let's talk about buying us a coffee. Let's talk about subscriptions. Let's talk about getting sticky with us, because we have a lot of new ways to get up close, personal, and stick to us.
Stick to itness.
Oh, I love that.
So before we jump into that, I'd like to just acknowledge Akua and Carolyn were both said about how beneficial a coach is. And that Akua right now, she's mentioned that she's taking a course about manifesting and how she's finding it really helpful to feel more positive and move forward. And that's what we were talking about earlier in the stream about being and choosing to be positive, choosing to be happy, choosing to see the beauty, the miracles, the gifts that are all around us, and then how we act. So in other words, what we do will flow from that being, and then we'll have different things in our life. We'll manifest different things in our life rather than trying to manifest it first so that we can do something and then be. So in other words, like a lot of people say, oh, I need to have money so I can build the business so that I'll be happy, instead of choosing to be happy first and allowing their actions of how they build the business from a place of happiness and connection, then allows them to manifest the income that they need, the abundance that they need to have that business going.
And thank you, Carolyn Jackson, for your comment. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
different ways to connect. Well, one of the ways you can connect with us is at b-u.network/connect. And if you want to just have a short 15-minute conversation with us, there's a link over there to book that. We have some times on our calendar that you can connect with us, and then we can see where it goes from there. Over at buymeacoffee.com, these live streams, our podcast, it's all community supported. So if you'd like to go over to buymeacoffee.com/BU network and buy us a coffee, we'd love to have a coffee with you.
And thank you to Cindy Mount for buying
Yes.
us a coffee.
Exactly. And we're also over on Buy Me a Coffee. We have a couple of, there's an extra over there. It's a one on two, because you get both of us coaching session. And you can, there's an amount for that, and you can change the amount as well. And there's also a membership at $10 a month on Buy Me a Coffee. And that is going to allow you access to special members only content that we put there. Again, recorded videos just for our members that we're not putting out in the public, and give you a little bit more in depth on some of the topics we talk about on our podcast or our live streams. And we go a little bit more in depth with those.
And those topics are based on your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Your questions are important to us. So if you decide to get up front and up close, front and personal with us, that's great.
Right.
But if you want to be a member of that aspect of our business for $10 a month, you will have access to that information over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So go over to Buy Me a Coffee and look at membership.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Subscribe.
We'd really love to see you there.
Yeah, we would. Thank you.
All right. I think this is a great place to call it a day with one last message.
Yes.
One more time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I got to take care of my business partner.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As I will for you, because your birthday is coming up next month. This is a really special day. I love that I'm here. This is my party. This is my party.
It's my party.
And I love that you're all here with me today and here with us. And it means so much, because to ask everybody to get together for a party these days, everybody's busy. They got a lot of things to do, but you're here, and this live will live in this BU Network Facebook page, and we will always remember that we spent this day together. Right. And as who was it? Carol Burnett used to pull her ear. I'm showing my age there.
I'm so glad we had this time together.
Thank you. Thank you for treating me specially. Have a really amazing day. And BU, let us know what's going on.
Yeah. Great comment, Jay. And thank you, Akua. I'm sure Rara thanks you as well for your birthday wishes. And we'll see everybody next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Ciao.
Ciao. We'll see you on the other side.